We've kind of seen it all in 4.5 years, from being the worst team on the grid, starting the season, to now being the most successful team on the grid. I think it can be argued.
It can be argued.
Who has the best car at the moment, because the sport ebbs and flows. But team's done a wonderful job. All the men and women at McLaren have busted their butt. We've got great people at McLaren, but we weren't necessarily working great as a team. I think we lacked leadership when we took over on what we call a quest, not a journey. A journey is kind of how we got here today. A little bit of traffic, but pretty easy. Flying to the moon's a quest. And so it's been an exciting ride, continues to be an exciting ride. I still wake up every day worried about what's ahead of me. So I kind of live with a little bit of fear of failure as a motivator, as opposed to the thrill of victory. So I don't think I've changed much. I think the job gets harder every day, because once you're on top, you want to stay on top. And it's kind of only one way down the mountain now. And, this is sport. No one wins forever. So I think it's that paranoia, if you'd like, that keeps me personally very motivated every day. Hi, this is Zak Brown. This is Cars and Culture with Jason Stein.
It's good to be back with you. Unbelievably, you were guest number 1 on this program.
Long time ago.
It was a long time.
At least a lot of interviews.
It was a lot of interviews. It was 4.5 years ago, and about 230, 240 shows. Thank you for coming back on the program.
Good to be here.
Yeah, a little bit's changed since the last time we talked. I don't want to say that we had anything to do with it, but certainly after our conversation, you were on a rocket ship into where you are now, which is firmly outer space in the F1 and racing world. How do you put the last 4.5 years into words?
4.5 years. We've kind of seen it all in 4.5 years, from being the worst team on the grid, starting the season, to now being the most successful team on the grid. I think it can be argued.
It can be argued.
Who has the best car at the moment, because the sport ebbs and flows. But team's done a wonderful job. All the men and women at McLaren have busted their butt and produced a great fast racing car. Of course, we've got 2 sensational drivers, and it's all coming together. We've won quite a few races this year, but not the last couple, so that keeps us highly motivated, because we want to win them all, but of course you never will.
When you reflect back, just during that time, what has changed? Are there 2 or 3 things that you can kind of boil down and say, well, this is the essence of going from the back of the grid to the front of the grid? And I know that that's a razor thin margin for most teams, but what, in your mind, propelled you to that kind of success?
I was definitely people. We've got great people at McLaren, but we weren't necessarily working great as a team. I think we lacked leadership when we took over on what we call a quest, not a journey. A journey is kind of how we got here today. A little bit of traffic, but pretty easy. Flying to the moon's a quest. And so it's been an exciting ride, continues to be an exciting ride. My leadership team, Andrea Stella and his leadership team, the way we're working together, the way we're getting the most out of our people. Of course, we've had things like new wind tunnels, so it is an amalgamation of everything coming together. But number 1 on the list is people.
And when you talk about people, and you mentioned earlier, it does basically center on drivers as well. And you've got 2
definitely play an important role.
Right. 2 of the best in the business now, and 2 that are propelling you into a whole other echelon. Last time we talked, you didn't have Oscar. What has that done to the team? What has it meant? I know you were in pursuit at the time. You were watching very closely. That was hotly contested at the time. But what has all of that done now to bring 2 of those drivers, world-class drivers, in?
I think they're pushing each other, and they push the team. And you got to give them great equipment, and they help you develop great equipment, because they've got great feedback. They get the most out of the car. I think anytime you're in a competitive situation, especially with your teammate, they just get that little extra edge out of each other, and then they kind of keep raising their game on each other and ultimately the team. So, I've said from day one, I think we have the best driver lineup in Formula One. At the moment, statistically, that is factually accurate.
Yeah.
And they're great guys, and they bring a ton of energy to the team. So not only are they unbelievably fast racing drivers, they're great guys, they're great team players, and I think that's helped create this environment that has everyone working so well together.
Was there a moment during the quest, to use your phrase, was there a moment that you thought things were exactly turning to where you wanted it to be, where you wanted to go?
I think Miami, Lando's first win, was a big moment, but it even goes back before then. I would say Austria, 2023, which was when Andrea and kind of the new Formula One team, which was primarily about 98% of the same people, so it wasn't new. It was new in energy. When we put those developments on Lando's car, we didn't have two sets ready, so we didn't get it ready for Oscar's car until Silverstone. But I would say that was a moment where you could tell we had our act together, but still a lot of room for improvement.
Lando, with that breakthrough moment, that long-awaited win, and a chaotic scene in Miami after he did that. We happen to be right in front of that celebration. What changed in his mentality, maybe that he was no longer chasing his first, but could now pursue some other goals?
Yeah, I think anytime a driver wins their first race, it just gives them a boost of confidence that they kind of got that done. And then they know how to win, and that second win becomes easier, and that third win. And so it was a huge boost for him. He'd come close to winning. We didn't really have a car that was capable of winning, and then as soon as we were, he delivered the goods, and he's been an Oscar on fire ever since.
And Oscar often described as being ice cold. I mean, he's as smooth and cool as they come. What kind of feedback and growth are you seeing from him, maybe even behind closed doors?
What you see is what you get with Oscar. He's very level-headed. He's very thoughtful. He's very technical. I think he and Lando are great personality combinations. I always say you wouldn't want two Zaks or two Andreas. Combination is what makes both of them so strong. So he's very focused, as is, of course, Lando. They're just two different personalities, but he hasn't really changed.
Yeah. How have you changed during that time?
I don't think a lot. I still wake up every day worried about what's ahead of me. So I kind of live with a little bit of fear of failure as a motivator as opposed to the thrill of victory. So I don't think I've changed much. I think the job gets harder every day because once you're on top, you want to stay on top. And there's kind of only one way down the mountain now. And, this is sport. No one wins forever. So I think it's that paranoia, if you'd like, that keeps me personally very motivated every day.
Huh. It's such a different thing, isn't it? I mean, when you're hunting continuously and then you're hunted, all of a sudden the dialogue changes. All of a sudden the pressure changes. Maybe even the rules change. I don't know.
Yeah, what's interesting is we've got a lot of great fans out there.
You have a lot more now.
We have a lot more now. But you'd still be amazed at how many people, and that's the social media world that we live in, the commentary you get when you finish first and second, if it's not in the order that they think it should have been in. And
maybe even just recently.
Yeah, so the pressure's on. The spotlight's on us, but we just need to stay focused on ourselves.
And you have you call it the I guess it's the papaya culture or the papaya ethic. There's a phrase to it.
There's kind of the papaya rules. We kind of call
rules.
it the papaya era, which is, we went back to our papaya colors, and then so papaya is just something that we kind of play off those papaya rules. There's Papaya Army, our fan base, our papaya fans. So we're kind of all things papaya.
Did you trademark that? I mean, you should have.
I'm sure we have. The lawyers have that covered off somewhere.
But when an incident happens, I just want to, you brought it up, so I'll just mention it. But when an incident happens like it did in September in Monza, and the internet goes crazy over what should have happened or what could have happened, or maybe there's tension in the team and who's actually who are they intending to have finish first? How do you respond to those sorts of things?
You don't really,
Yeah.
because I think, sport is all about passion. So you'll have people that, you go to a baseball game, go to a football game, pick a sport, and people are cheering and booing, and you should have done that. And it's like having 150,000 team principals in the audience, and we love them for it. That's I think there's a line that shouldn't be crossed, but you're not going to convince that very small group of individuals anything else. So I think you just got to stay focused on what your own racing integrity is, your own rules, and recognize that people have driver favorites, team favorites. Everyone has an opinion, and most of the time when you see critical comments, people are uninformed, but you can't sit there and explain it to them. So I think as long as we're true to ourselves, that's all you can really do.
Sometimes even critical comments within the paddock. Actually, not sometimes.
Well, that's all part of the game. So our sport is about focusing on your team, but there is also an aspect of trying to disrupt the competition. So, we call them poison biscuits, and no one's allowed to eat the poison biscuits, and just focus on ourselves.
I want to focus on that for a moment, just because it's been so fascinating to see the environment change within the paddock over the last few years, since the last time we talked. Your colleague, Toto Wolff, said just recently that the sport needs villains in order to stay compelling, that every movie needs the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Do you believe in that? Do you think that the sport needs that sort of thing? I mean, you watch sports.
Yeah, yes and no. But I think, sometimes the villain's the best player in the sport, right? If here we are in New York, Aaron Judge is unbelievable. I bet when Aaron Judge goes to some other parks, he's the villain because he's the great guy. And so, I think you need big personalities in the sport, whether they're good guys, bad guys, villains, heroes, superheroes. I think you need personalities in the sport. But everyone likes a good villain in a movie.
Well, and has to be a protagonist, right? There's got to be somebody who's either outspoken, controversial. Toto said that your former colleague Christian Horner, that he loved to play that role. And we're on Sirius XM, so that the sport needs an asshole. Is that true? He
certainly had his ways of operating. He had a lot of fans. He had a huge amount of success, and then he had a lot of people that didn't like the way he rolls. But I think you could say that probably about all the team bosses out there. So, he was definitely a big personality. Been around a long time, and I think everyone loves to see a good rivalry.
Has it changed without having him there?
It's early days. I think so. There are certain things that I think amongst the team bosses that we can speak more openly about on behalf of the sport that doesn't necessarily immediately become political. Laurent, who is now running Red Bull, is doing a great job. He's won the last couple races. So, but look at how many championships and races he's won. He got the job done.
Yeah, you said recently that Formula One is in a healthier place since Laurent has taken over.
Yeah, and what I meant by that is, I think there are time for off-the-record conversations where you're talking about things that, aren't intended to be political, but you're talking about growth and health of the sport. And, unfortunately, sometimes you couldn't have that conversation without it getting replayed and taken out of context or used in a way where you couldn't actually have in my opinion, a conversation that wouldn't maybe be spun a different way.
The popularity of this sport, and whether it's the protagonists or the antagonists or whatever's happening inside or outside the paddock, the popularity cannot be questioned, and that might be a reason why it's going as well as it is. And the Motorsports Network recently came out with a survey. They surveyed 100,000 fans who were F1 fans, and the bottom line is the popularity could not be higher.
Yeah, sport's in a great place.
Right. Why?
Oh, I think there's a lot of reasons why. I think you got to start with Liberty acquiring the sport. Obviously, Bernie did an unbelievable job to build the sport to where Liberty took over, but Liberty made the sport very inclusive. Coming with Netflix, I think it exposed people to how cool our sport is, not just on the track, but how political and soap opera and villains and all those dramas that make the sport exciting to follow. The competition has been amazing. We won the Constructors' Championship, came down to the last lap last year. So the competition you had last year, I think it was 7 multiple winners, 4 different teams, unheard of that level of competitiveness. This year, even though we're, from a constructor's standpoint, have a very healthy lead, different pole sitters, different winners.
Still a chase.
There's definitely still this championship is wide open from a driver's point of view. Who can win next weekend? Is it a Ferrari? Is it a McLaren? Is it a Mercedes?
Williams on the podium.
Williams on the podium. So I think the levels of competitiveness, the sport's never been more competitive. The personalities, there's only 20 drivers, our broadcast partners, the demand for Grand Prix, and then the sponsorship in the sport. We're commercially the most successful racing team in the world at the moment, and look at the partners that we have that hadn't historically been in the sport, the Googles, the Ciscos, the Dells, the MasterCards. I could give quite a few plugs to our great roster of partners. So when you kind of put that all together, the sport's in unbelievable economic health. Our race team just had a transaction, and if you look at what the valuation of our team was 5 years ago to what was reported, which wasn't too wide of the mark,
$3 billion.
It was a very healthy look at that value creation in less than 5 years. So you had teams going bankrupt. Now you have people that are begging to get into the sport. It took Cadillac quite a bit of effort to get. So look at the supply and demand. 5 years ago it was, do you want to buy Williams or Force India or Sauber out of, administration or going into administration? Now you've got to write a check, north of $500 million just to get a dance ticket to come to the dance. What a tremendous amount of value that the sport's created in 5 years.
Wow. Yeah. And you look at Audi entering. You mentioned Cadillac as well. There's a momentum behind this that probably you couldn't have even sort of foreseen if I would have asked you 5 years ago.
It's far exceeded my expectations. Formula One is now a major sport in North America, and you got to give a lot of credit to Austin for bringing Formula One back. But I think without Netflix, you wouldn't have had a Miami, you wouldn't have had a Vegas, and so it's really cool for North America to be a major part of the footprint of Formula One. There was 3 things that we really needed in Formula One not long ago: North America as a geographic market, youth, our future, and women, a more diverse audience, and that is radically changed, and I think that's driven a lot of our popularity.
Well, and in the global F1 fan survey, which, by the way, was the largest study of its kind in the sport. I mentioned earlier 100,000 self-identified fans participating across over 185 countries. So it's not a United States survey. 94% of all respondents said they expect to be following F1 5 years from now, including 97% from Gen Z. I mean,
that's awesome. It's exactly what we wanted. And I now hear from fans on the street so often, there's a few things that stick out. One, people go, I never followed Formula One. Now I won't miss a race. So they've taken people, they haven't just created awareness, they've created massive fan following, and people have gone from not knowing the sport to avid fans. Normally that takes time. The other is I get, stopped everywhere, and it's either usually from youth or women, and when it is from a guy, usually the comment is, my daughter, my wife, my partner, and so it's amazing how much the fan base has changed.
Yeah, and when you talk about Austin, the Austin race I went to a few years ago, There were, you mentioned earlier, 19, 20-year-old women who were not there to see Post Malone perform, but they were there for the race.
Yeah.
He did perform, but they were also there for the race. Yeah.
There for the race and
the atmosphere.
and the scene and the
Yeah.
atmosphere. It's
Yeah.
such a cool sport. And whether you are a fan of the technology, the racing, the venues, the drivers, the drama, the politics, there's so many different ways to digest our sport and so many different fascinating aspects to it that I think that's why we have quite a diverse audience.
You're such a huge baseball fan, St. Louis Cardinals
Yep.
guy, right? But I would venture to say that Formula One, especially on the weekends, if the NFL is not on, even if it is on, it outdistances baseball in this country in some segments. I mean, it has taken a place that it rightfully didn't have before, and has surpassed the popularity of some other great American pastimes.
Yeah, let's stick with some other sports because I love my baseball.
I know you do.
I'm going to the Yankee game tonight, and the Cardinals Cubbies this weekend.
You also love your golf too, right? You're going.
I do love my golf.
You're going to the
We're
Ryder
gonna swing
Cup.
by the Ryder Cup. Justin Rose is a great friend, as is a lot of the golfers are huge Formula One fans. So I'll definitely be cheering them on this weekend.
But my point is that I think nobody could have even had that conversation.
It wasn't even on the radar
5-10 years ago.
No, it's been amazing how fast it's grown and how popular it is. It's really cool.
You're also big into. I have so many other subjects to touch on, but one of the key ones is about endurance, because I happen to be at the Pebble Beach pre Pebble Beach evening where you unveiled the 24-hour car for Le Mans, which is a big moment for you. What does that mean as the boss of the entire racing organization to get back to Le Mans for McLaren?
We've got great history there. We won on our debut in 95. From a McLaren's point of view, the three biggest races in the world are Monaco Grand Prix, Indy 500, and 24 Hours of Le Mans. We're the only team to have won all three. You're kind of called the Triple Crown. We won them in 3 different decades. We want to win them all in the same decade, in this Papaya era that we're in, which I think would be really cool. Entering the World Endurance Championship, which is the 24 Hours of Le Mans, is part of that series, is a great way for us to work more collaboratively with our automotive brothers and sisters, if you'd like. And, that's what we have history in. We've won the Indianapolis 500 twice. We're coming off of our most successful year in IndyCar since we got back involved, winning a couple races, few poles, 12 podiums. So I like where McLaren Racing is. Now we need to work very hard to keep us at the front.
Well, and to that point, demonstrating a success level at a place like Le Mans is unparalleled. And it is something that sets a benchmark for almost all of the other circuits, doesn't it? I mean, it has that.
It's an amazing race.
It propels you.
Yeah, and same with the Indy 500.
Right.
These races are so long that not only you have to be fast and good, but Lady Luck needs to be on your side. So someone asked me the other day, which is the hardest race to win, and it's like, I don't know, where do you start? Right, you got to have an unbelievably fast race car and driver to drive it perfectly to win Monaco. Indy, you got to stay out of trouble, 500 miles, and Le Mans, you need to last 24 hours, and you need to do a better job than everyone. So, I mean, they're those are all quests, that's for sure.
Is there a unifying McLaren identity across all of those series, or do you let each program run its own culture?
No, I think culture-wise, it's the same. We're all about our fans. We recognize without fans, there would be no McLaren, there would be no racing. So we're very fan-focused in how we present our racing team and how we like to engage with our fans and being a very inclusive team. Having fun is something that is kind of core to our ways of working. Fun with our fans, fun with our drivers, fun with the race team. Not to be mistaken for deadly serious, but we're in sport. We are in the entertainment business. I don't understand those that see sport as not entertainment. I think if you buy tickets to see something, whether it's a rock concert, a motor race, a fireworks show, a movie, that's called entertainment. So entertainment and engagement with our fans is something that's core to everything that we do. We want to win. So, we got to have the best drivers, the best team, make sure we have healthy budgets, great partners. So, no, I think all three teams are very similar in that sense.
You all learn from each other too, right?
100%. Yeah, there's something you can always be learning every day.
I want to go back to endurance for a second because a rather famous racer just recently completed his endurance license. You might be facing him on the grid on a regular basis, Max Verstappen. You said recently that you'd be happy to work with Max Verstappen in endurance racing. Maybe even as a teammate at some stage. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, I'm not sure he'd want me as a teammate. I used to race against his father, Jos, who was extremely quick, and I think could have had a better Formula One career, but was kind of in the wrong place at the right time, right? He was Schumacher's teammate.
That's right.
Going to drop in the middle of the season. Who wants to be Schumacher's teammate? And kind of dropped in because JJ Leto was injured. Max is a massive talent. We have a lot of racing teams, so maybe one of these days we'll go racing with him.
Massive talent is right, and a massive talent who has accomplished so much so quickly. And there's a lot of talk about him wanting to take on new challenges. Endurance is the natural one, and obviously getting his license recently helps check that box.
I think we did it with Fernando Alonso when we brought him to Indy. We're a racing team. We're racers. So I like that old school. Mario Andretti used to race everything. Dan Gurney, Bruce McLaren. So hats off to Max that on his weekend off of being at a Formula One race, he wants to be in a race car driving around the old Nordschleife. I think that's really cool.
I think so too. What else is cool? Another thing is that you've recently put pen to paper on a book.
Yep.
Tell me about that process. What was that like?
It was a hard process. I'm not sure I'd want to do that again.
Right. That's what most authors say.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm happy with the final product. It'll be interesting to see what everyone thinks of it that reads it. I hope they find it entertaining. But I was approached, and I never thought I'd be let's do a book. But it's got some fun stories. But it's about what I've learned over the years. So it's not an autobiography. It's much more about lessons in business. But because I've kind of been in business my whole life, a lot of stories. But took it very seriously because I wanted it to be accurate. So a lot of drafting, a lot of reading. But you'll see in it, I'm not very into school. So it did feel like doing homework once I got going. I don't want to do any more homework, but it's good. It's got some funny stories, so hopefully it lands well.
How did you find the time to do that?
It was very time consuming. So that's the part where doing another book, I'll need to recover from it because it is very time consuming, more so than I thought. But that was more because I'm a perfectionist and wanted to make sure we got it right.
Thematically, you're going to hit on some business leadership insights. Some great stories. Is there a story you can share with us that was a favorite of yours?
Probably my Mickey Mantle story.
Tell me that.
To baseball. I was 12, 13 years old. I found out he played golf at Preston Trails Country Club. I don't know anything about golf, but I was a huge baseball guy. Mickey Mantle was my guy. So I called the golf club every day asking if Mickey Mantle was in. And after about 2 weeks, they said, hold on. And about 15 minutes went by, and I thought, oh, my God, I'm going to be on the phone with Mickey Mantle here. And he picked up the phone, and he thought it was a prank call. So he chewed me out, hung up the phone. I was not in good shape, having just been chewed out by my hero. My mom came into the room and said, what's wrong? I explained it to her. She disappeared. Got him back on the phone. He thought it was a prank, and he felt terrible. And he said, if you can make your way to Dallas, I'll spend some time with your kid. And my brother and my mom and I got on a plane and went to the Dallas Hilton, spent half a day with Mickey Mantle. Wow. So I think that was part of my sales career, which was finding out how to get in somewhere and just call, cold calls, and it was amazing.
Wow, what was he like in person?
So cool. He told us a ton of stories. I mean, I was in awe the whole time. And he was very nice. He brought his manager with him and just told us stories, signed a bunch of stuff. My biggest regret, I've got all the signed stuff. We didn't bring a camera.
Oh.
I don't have a single photo. Lots of autographs, a lot of posters and things that he brought, but not a single photo with Mickey Mantle. Who would have thought?
Baseball heroes are pretty unique when you're a kid. I mean, they're the biggest things.
And I mean, think about, with what goes on today. I mean, the fact that Mickey Mantle felt bad and said, "Oh,
Yeah.
He literally spent 3-4 hours with us, sitting in the lobby and talking." And
This is like
sharing
early 80s, mid
stories.
80s.
This would have been early 80s,
Yeah.
and I mean that's a pretty legendary thing.
That's
to
a
do.
legendary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you avoid the trap of short-term glory? I mean, you're right in the mix here of the glory days, as Bruce would say.
Recognizing that we got to keep working extremely hard to try and keep these glory days extended, but we also know this is sport and no one wins forever. So I live in a little bit of fear and paranoia. So for me personally, that's what gets me up out of bed every day. Is I take nothing for granted. Even the worst team in Formula One is great. So our competition is immense. Look at us at the beginning of 23. We were the worst team on the grid, and by the end, we were the second best team. And everyone can do that. And so therefore, we keep our feet on the ground, enjoy the moment, but keep working hard so we can continue to enjoy the moment.
I know this is a way too premature question, but because I only see you once every few years, I'll ask you this anyway. But when you think about your time with McLaren and what you've accomplished, what's the legacy that you want to leave culturally and competitively? And I know that's
I don't think about it because I feel like I'm in the peak of my career, and because it's not driving, and I feel like I can have my peak for another 10 to 15 years. But I'd like us to be a team that was very successful on track, but one that was all about the fans and all about the team and our culture. So I guess, looking back in 20 years' time, I remember the first time, I met Mickey Mantle. I remember the first time I met a racing driver and how that turned me into a fan for life. So I hope that we can leave some memories that in 20 years' time, that autograph we stopped for, that selfie, or that engagement with the fan, that we turn people into lifelong McLaren fans and racing fans.
You stopped in Austin when I saw you in the paddock. You didn't know who I was, but you did take a picture with me.
That's good. That's
on
good
my wall. So
you're
living up to exactly what you said.
I know how much of an impression every time I met someone made on me, good or bad. So I want to make sure, because I remember the bad ones too. I want to make sure that every memory we leave behind is a good one.
Just a couple more. What's the biggest misconception that fans have about what it takes to run a team at this level?
Probably how complicated it is, and I wish we could explain every aspect that goes into our decision making, but make no mistake about it, we also get it wrong. So that's probably a frustration or something that people don't necessarily understand, and I understand it because I don't go to every race. I go to the majority of the races, but sometimes I'm back at the factory, sometimes I'm traveling, sometimes I'm at an IndyCar race because it's important. I'm there, and the TV product is awesome. Yeah, but there's so much data going on that I can tell you that my viewing experience when I'm not on pit wall is different because I'm lacking a lot of data. And but you know what? Without fans, we wouldn't have a Formula One. So I appreciate their passion for the sport.
What's it going to mean to you when you raise the trophy again at the end of the year? I'm going to presuppose that happens here. Okay.
The constructors looks pretty good. So I feel more confident in talking about that one than the drivers, where Max is very much still in the game. It's going to be awesome. The first one was, especially coming down to the last lap, last race, and against Ferrari, right? I kind of grew up McLaren, Ferrari, and Williams. And so to me, the story of competing with Ferrari for your first full championship just couldn't have been sweeter.
You're wearing Papaya socks in the studio today,
yes.
So you're living up to it. You are the man who has trademarked Papaya Nation. You are leading them.
It's cool that we've come up with a color that can be described as papaya, because I've never heard another team. There's red teams, there's pinstripe teams, there's blue teams, but I don't know of any other sport that has a papaya team, so that's worked out quite well.
You own it, Zach.
We got to thank Bruce for that one. We got to thank Bruce for a lot of things.
Yeah, congratulations on everything that you've accomplished since I saw you last.
Thank you.
And I'll see you again, and we'll see what you've accomplished in 4.5 years.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, man.